Welcome to Top Shelf. I'm David Pierce, and on this show, we bring you the best in consumer electronics, past, present, and future. This week, the ancient art of capturing light. From Kodachrome to Instagram, from cinema to selfies, and out in the deserts of Nevada, the future of it all. Our senior reporter, Bryan Bishop, investigates.
The past 5 years have seen a dramatic shift in the creation and distribution of visual media. Digitally shot films now regularly win Oscars, HD is the baseline standard at home, and 4K content isn't just hitting theaters, it's shaping up to be the latest front in the battle for the living room. The industry is changing. The one place that's most evident is right here in Las Vegas, Nevada. This is where the National Association of Broadcasters holds its annual trade show. It's a place where the people making tomorrow's tools can meet up with the creative individuals that will end up using them. This is NAB 2013. Here on the show floor, there's big name companies like Red, Canon, and Sony, as well as a lot of smaller vendors. Every type of filmmaking equipment imaginable is here. There's one constant theme: 4K. It's here, and in a big way. Sony, which has been pushing the industry towards 4K capture and distribution, showed off 2 new prototype cameras for video and taking stills. One looked like a futuristic DSLR, but the other borrowed a lot of design cues from Red's line of products. The company also priced its home 4K media player, which will be priced at $699 later this year. And what if you're hungry for even more resolution? Red had a clean room on the show floor where it was upgrading owners of the Red Epic to its new 6K Dragon sensor. Now, if you know the name Phantom, you know it's all about slow motion, and this is the Phantom Flex 4K camera. It can shoot 1,000 frames per second of 4K footage. This here is a prototype. It got working about 4 weeks ago. With a 64 gig capacity, there's a number of different capacities you can get. You can shoot about 5 seconds of footage. What's that like in playback? At 1,000 frames per second, that's 3.5 minutes of footage. Now, price on this, the bare body itself is going to be about $100,000, but a full kit will be about $140,000. So obviously this is professional level gear, something you're not going to be basically buying for yourself. And now, it's interesting, this right here is the original Phantom Flex that has 2,500 frames per second at HD resolution. But technology has been evolving so quickly, they can make it even smaller, which brings us to the Miro. Now, this can basically shoot 1,500 frames per second in HD resolution at a much smaller form factor. This runs around $50,000. All these cameras capture fantastic high frame rate photography, and I want one. I want all of them. As technology has advanced, it's enabled professional level hardware to get both smaller and more portable. Cameras can go places they've never been able to go before, but making that footage look smooth and steady presents its own set of challenges. We're here at FreeFly's booth looking at the movie. This has taken the internet by storm the last few weeks. It's a camera stabilization system. Uses digitally controlled gyroscopes with electronics. You can basically put your digital SLR in here, or the lightweight cameras, and get some really, really smooth shots you wouldn't be able to get otherwise. It's a pretty exciting example of how you can go and get some really creative shots without a huge bunch of equipment that you normally would have to use.
We are a creative technology company that makes creative tools for creative minds. So I mean, like, NAB couldn't be the more perfect show for us, because there's a bunch of geeks that are super creative. That's us. We are the NAB crowd. So we took our professional grade ZenMuse camera stabilization platform and have built it in to the Phantom.
It's crazy how responsive it is.
It's very responsive. It goes exactly where you tell it to go. Yep, just like that, let it touch the ground, and then just drop it down. Nice flying, man.
Thanks, dude. People are taking things to another extreme. This is the Steadicam Curve. It's a motion stabilization device for your GoPro camera. Now, Steadicam is the company behind the original big full-body rigs that you use to stabilize cameras for motion tracking shots. You've seen them in Goodfellas, you've seen them in The Shining. This is a small version of it. We're seeing lots of smaller cameras like this go out, and people need to find a way to make these shots, a little bit less shaky. This looks like it's pretty stable. So now I'm going to take this out and go film Boogie Nights. It's not just consumer cameras changing the game. We're also seeing traditional consumer electronics trickling up the food chain and opening up some exciting possibilities. This is the Bond 2 from Teradek. You hook it up to your camera, it converts your footage into H.264 video, and then puts it out over the internet. There are 6 USB ports, so you can just plug in stock sticks from Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, and basically it sends it to Teradek servers, and it reconstitutes it, and from there you can put the footage wherever you want, on the air, on the internet directly. And what's really cool about this thing is it used to be, you need a satellite truck to do these things before, and now you can do it in this little box right here that costs about $4,000. You have to add the sticks, obviously, but basically you can take a camera out in the field, shoot something, and have it on the internet or anywhere else you want right away with just this little box. In a lot of ways, we're at the dawn of the golden era. Technology and creativity are opening up possibilities that were only dreamt of just a few years ago. But while the gear itself is exciting, that's really only one part of the story. The real payoff is what directors, cinematographers, and other creative professionals are doing with this new generation of tools. And to reap those benefits, you don't need to travel to Las Vegas. Just open your eyes.
So nobody's carrying around a 4K cell phone yet. But shows like NAB are a really good indication of where the consumer market will be in a couple of years from now. What's $10,000 at NAB might be $200 before you know it. And the Fujifilm X100s, one of the new cameras we've seen in the Verge offices, may not be $200, but it's still a lot of camera for a surprisingly small price. Here with me to talk about it is the Verge's resident photography expert, Michael Shane. And you kind of love this camera, right?
Yeah, I really do.
Why? What's so special about this camera? I mean, it's pretty.
Yes, aside from the fact that it's beautiful, looks aren't everything though. It has a great personality.
It does. It's what's on the inside that counts.
So let's get the basics out of the way first.
Sure.
It's not a full frame camera,
right,
which means it's not a 35mm sensor.
Unlike some of the higher end pro cameras.
Right, unlike the Sony RX1, which is another compact camera, or full DSLRs like the 5D Mark II, Mark III, Nikon D800, etc. Right? But this camera, I think, is quite possibly the best cropped sensor on the planet right now that money can buy. I think Fuji's doing amazing stuff. And if Fuji ever starts to make full frame sensors in a compact camera, watch out.
So does that mean, am I going to take meaningfully better pictures with this than with any other camera? Or I'm curious for you particularly, because you own a 5D Mark II, right? And you're a pro, you get paid money to take pictures sometimes, which makes you a pro. But you want this camera. You want to spend $1,300 and buy this also.
I do. My 5D Mark II doesn't leave my apartment or the office that often. It's sort of it's a tool. It's a workhorse.
It's gigantic.
It's
you got that big lens on it too.
It weighs a lot.
Yeah.
But this is tiny. This weighs nothing, and it's unobtrusive. People don't notice this. If I'm walking around the city or I'm in the subway and I lift my 5D Mark II to take a photo, it's like waving a flag that says, "Hello, I'm a photographer and I'm about to invade your space.
Please turn away."
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But this camera allows me to remain invisible.
Right. And you can make it basically silent too, right?
Yeah,
so
I mean,
it's got
these built-in. It's got built-in electronic shutter sounds, but they're a little dumb.
Right.
You just leave it silent, and it's like it's not even there. It's a wonderful portable camera, and the image quality is fantastic.
So if I'm just regular guy, there are a lot of cameras out there for $1,300, right? Across a whole bunch of different, they can look different, work differently. There are even some DSLRs you can get for $13.
Sure.
So if I'm somebody who doesn't know much about photos but just wants to take great pictures with a nice camera that doesn't weigh 40,000 pounds, is this the one to get?
Not in my opinion.
Okay.
This camera is a phenomenal camera for experienced or professional photographers who are looking for a second body. I mean, this camera has a physical mechanical aperture ring that clicks. It's got a physical dial for exposure compensation, a physical dial for your exposures. The point is, this camera wants to be shot in manual, or at the very least in aperture priority mode. And this camera, its cousins made by Fuji, the Sony RX1, they're all a little bit idiosyncratic. And you have to be the kind of photographer or consumer who's excited to sort of dive in and figure out what kind of relationship you have to have with a camera to make great pictures.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of camera that demands that. But if you're just looking to take snapshots of friends, of the kids, going out, trips, and you want to take great photos and not really worry so much about making great photos, I think you can probably spend less money end up with results you'll be happy with, and then take the extra money left over and do something else with it.
But so then on the flip side of that, if I'm a pro photographer, I want something, you know, people buy DSLRs because, and they're big because they have all the buttons and all the dials.
Right,
and
it's about control and image quality.
Right, and this,
yeah.
you think this has enough of that, or at least
yeah,
the right amount of it?
I absolutely think it does.
Okay.
Like I said at the beginning, it's not a full frame sensor.
Right.
But that's not everything. I mean, until I played with this camera, I was like, oh, I can't use a camera that doesn't have a full frame sensor. Rah!
Yeah.
But once I tried this, I was sort of convinced. Yeah, f2 looks a lot different on a full frame sensor than it does on this camera, but the image quality is great. It feels great in the hand. It's beautiful to look at, in my opinion.
It really
anyway.
is beautiful.
I mean, that's totally subjective.
It looks like a camera from like 65 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of a throwback to the old Leica compact cameras.
Sure.
But the great thing about this, I mean, it's one lens, it's fixed, but it's 35 millimeters. And artistically speaking, that introduces certain restrictions that I think are really good. Having only a 35 millimeter field of view to work with changes the way you see scenes, it changes the way you make photos, and I think restrictions like that make you a better photographer.
Well, yeah, so we actually had this debate in the middle of talking about this camera before, where you were saying, you know, my theory is basically put the best equipment possible in somebody's hands and they'll probably take great pictures, right? Like if I handed my grandma a 5D Mark II, put it on auto, she'd probably take great pictures. But your theory is that, you know, there's a lot more to taking pictures than just the camera. And that applies to both, you know, taking great pictures with a 5D Mark II and with like a, you know, terrible $200 point and shoot that hopefully no one will ever buy.
I mean, it's not just my
again.
opinion. It's certainly not like a revolutionary new idea.
Well, we tell my mom this. I take great pictures and my mom's like, man, you must have a really great camera. And I'm like, no, Mom,
I don't know what
just
to tell
took good pictures.
What you need to do is go get one of those disposables from like Target or, you know, one of those, and then take amazing pictures with that.
So this is what I don't think can be done. And this is what we sent you out to do with Ross Miller, who I'm pretty sure is like the worst photographer that has ever existed on planet Earth.
That's harsh. I can't comment.
And basically what I wanted to see is, does the camera make the man, or does the man make the camera?
Ansel Adams said that a good photograph is knowing where to stand.
You can take the most horrifically awful pictures with the best of cameras.
And you can take great pictures with just about any camera you can find on the street. So we went out and bought the Canon SX260.
Right now, the best-selling camera on Amazon.com.
And we're going to give you a few tips to show you how to take drastically better images, even with a point and shoot. Like most things in photography, composition can be pretty subjective, but there are a few basic ideas that will be helpful when you're getting started. Always try to be aware of the geometry in your photo, especially horizons. Keep your horizon relatively straight as a starting point. You really should have a good reason for tilting your camera. Also be mindful of the so-called rule of thirds. The center of the frame is generally a zone of despair and disappointment. Zooming can help you achieve a soft, blurry background with a point and shoot, but if your subject isn't actually far away from you, just use your feet. Zooming also makes it harder to keep a steady shot. So if you don't have a tripod, become a tripod. Walls, railings, trees, that crazy position from yoga last night, do whatever you have to steady your hand. Then there's the light. When you press the shutter button halfway, the camera measures the light in the scene and chooses its settings for the photo. This is called metering. But you can force the camera to meter different parts of a scene just by pointing it somewhere other than your subject. Do what you can to put light sources behind you, including and especially the sun. If you want a bit more control, leave the plush prison of auto mode behind and try aperture priority. The aperture is the size of the opening through which light enters the lens, and it also affects your depth of field. At a basic level, depth of field is what determines how blurry or sharp your background is. If auto mode wants f8, for example, but that results in a shutter speed that's too slow, switch to aperture priority mode and open up your aperture to a lower number. You'll have a faster shutter speed that might be better suited to your needs. Okay, so let's talk about flash. As a general rule, just turn it off. Except for the darkest of circumstances, most cameras today will do all right without the retina-burning assault weapon that the manufacturer decided you couldn't live without. Seriously, is this how you want to remember your night? It's like a PSA for bad decisions. Don't be afraid to move, or to ask your subject to move. Look for lamps, candles, streetlights, LED keychains, road flares. Pretty much any light source around you will be better than the flash on your point-and-shoot camera. All right, it's time to let loose a little bit. Take everything I just said and forget about it. Then jump into the point-and-shoot's menu system and try manual mode with wild abandon. Experimentation and failure are how photographers grow. Assuming you have a patient subject, you'd be surprised what some simple adjustments can get you.
That's it for our show. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks to Bryan Bishop for being here. Thanks to Michael Shane. And especially thanks to Ross Miller, who I promise is a much better photographer than he lets on. For lots more on all this, especially our full review of the Fujifilm X100s, be sure and check out theverge.com. Thank you again so much for watching. We'll see you next week.